Hello and welcome to episode 4 of The Island with me, BonBonB. I'm BonBonB, you're very welcome. Yes, this is my very own Let's Play on my very own map build, Bonbon Island. The link to the map and to any new mods or assets that we use in today's show will be in the description. We'll be doing a casual style of Let's Play. Well, we're doing some detailing, but not going to the extreme levels. We will be using mods, of course, and we're staying within inside of the start square until we really do need to break out. In today's show, we're going to bring some more jobs to the area, so industrial is going to be worked upon. Going to add some more houses once we have the jobs in place as well, plus adding outside connections via rail and docks. Now, if you're wondering why we're pumping all of that pollution into the beautiful sea, well, that's because the area that I want to be building the water treatment facilities are outside of the start square. So until we get to that area, we'll just be pumping into the sea. It's not pretty, but it will do. Now, the very first thing we're going to be doing is cleaning up some stuff from the previous episode. Where we put down this intersection, there are a few trees that we've gone over and Anarchy's now showing them through. In fact, because of the lot of the trees, well, from a distance, a few of them will still look like they're showing through, which is why I'm going back from all the way over here to clean those up. Now, in today's show, we're going to be working on industrial areas here, where we put a trading park with Plaza. We'll go with another trading park here with some containers in it. Over here we'll have a smoky factory. Going to pump out a little bit of pollution because everything else is low tech. And then over here we'll just put down the power station. We won't be doing any detailing to that area in today's episode. We'll come back to it later. And so on with today's build. We'll start off by putting down some roads. And a lot of it is down to scaling. I want to make sure we can get the 2x2 units in and not have it too squished and squashed, but also leaving room for a plaza in the middle of what will be the runaround there. I think that's probably going to be about big enough. May need to budge things around with Move It. And also we're going to need Move It here as well. We're slightly below ground level, so I'm going to use Move It to elevate the entire quadrant there as well. I think that's a bit better. So what we'll do now is we're going to use Move It again to plop a few choice assets down. I specifically want this area to feel like it was a custom build, possibly a newer build trading park. Whereas the previous trading parks looked like they were sort of like built as they were needed, this one's going to feel a lot more planned and a lot more fresh because the units are going to match up and have them on the same on either side. Look at that, a little bit of little synchronicity going on there. And again, just making sure that we clip in with the ground level so we don't have any doors below ground level, because that will not look good at all. Now, what we're going to have along the back, I think we could pop a few of these on the angle. They're a little bit older and dirtier looking, which is why I'm having it at this end of the plaza, as they may have been there before these new buildings got plopped in. And we're going to connect those up with a little bit of this. I'm actually using the network extensions 2 road there, but I highly recommend, where possible, not to use it. There are actually variants of the network extension 2 roads which I should really swap over to. I think I will do in a future episode, introduce you to a mod that will do that automatically for you as well. So anyway, yeah, we'll just go over this area with a little bit of that. Now, we have got a speed limit sign there because we popped down the road that goes nowhere, but the speed limit sign says 30 mile per hour or 40 or something. So I've just removed that using the Hide It mod that we had a look at in the previous shows. So right, that's the plaza area partly done. I was getting a little bit disinterested for a while, so I figured let's start on the smoky factory area. I've got a fairly short attention span. You'd think I could do better at my age, really, but what I want to do is I want to use the Find It mod, searching for industrial buildings, then pick out the ones that look big, that look smoky, that look dirty, that look proper factory-like. And then what we'll do is we'll push them together to make an interesting shape using what we can find. And I figure those are the ones that look big and dirty. We'll go with those. Now I'm using Surface Painter just to mark out the outside, roughly the outside footprint of the factory. I've got room to give on this one. I don't mind adding or taking away a little bit of space here if needed. And that'll do for now. Right, now we're just going to drag these across using Move It to see what sort of shape we can come up with. I want to come out with something big and ugly. This is literally meant to be an ugly factory area. So let's see what we can come up with. Those on the side. We've got some little ones now, some little annexes. Oh, that one I think we could pop up against those two outflow, the old extractor outflow set. I think that's something that looks like it could be working towards keeping the air clean in there. Then one of those, maybe just off of that. And this one looks like it probably on the outside it's flat, isn't it? Oh, look at this. Look at this. This is absolutely perfect. Oh, yeah. We'll have some of that, thank you very much. So, yeah, so we've got an interesting looking building there. In location, I think we'll move the location up and away a little bit, slightly outside of my footprint, but let's not worry too much about that. Now we're going to give this roads around the outside so that the trucks, etc., can actually get to all of our new little buildings, because otherwise we are just doing that. And then using Surface Painter to give some cleaner edges again. Problem with Surface Painter is, of course, it can only do straight lines on the grid that the map is built on. So yes, it can't always get these straight lines in place. I'll plop down a few of those decals, and well, I'm going to tell you, the decals in the save didn't exactly stick. I wish they would have stuck, but they've disappeared. I do need to find a way of actually getting those ones to behave a little bit more. So now I'm working on what I'm going to call the container area. This one's supposed to be more like the areas we were just working with. This area here is sort of like an overflow area from here. I'm going to have a little container unit in the middle of the what looked like might be a plaza area. I thought we'd go with some containers in there because we are closer at this point to the what will be the goods yard. What goods yard, BonBon? Oh, we'll be getting there in a moment. Promise you, we'll be getting there in a moment. A little bit of a gap on the end, which we'll fill up at another time. So now I'm hunting for a container unit. This is the vanilla container unit. Looks amazing, and I think it fits pretty neatly in this space here. Back to the plaza area, and I've got a few units there. Again, they look modern. They look like they're part of this modern build over here. I think we'll put a little road up in between them so trucks can get to that small unit at the back. I'm going to use no controller just to get a slope on that intersection so it looks less clunky. And I think at this point we've got most of the buildings around the plaza area that we're going to want in this area. But we do have some gaps at the back that I want to find a way of filling. And I think probably one of these guys around the back here. And also we've got a gap over here that needs filling. I think we'll do that with a few of these vanilla container props. Now by this time I was getting a little bit bored because again it looks like I've been here doing this for 2 or 3 minutes, but I've probably been playing for a couple of hours to get this work done. So I wanted a change of location. I went and plopped down the power station. Now remember, the power station will be detailing at a later date, so don't fret about that one. We'll be doing a lot more work there soon. On to the rail. Now this is the vanilla rail station. Now if we have a look here, this is the vanilla rail line, and it's fine, it's what we're used to, but we're going to use a mod called the Railway Replacer mod by Ronix69, and this is going to allow us to plop down the station again, but this time select the railway line that we want to use. I'm going to use the generic two-way, the NAR generic two-way train tracks by Tim the Terrible. And now if we have a look down at the texture on this is much better. Okay, so plenty of rail assets, not just Tim the Terrible's work, but other assets that will work with the Railway Replacer mod. Choose the one that you like, and then you can choose it from the drop down, and then of course you can upgrade your rail from vanilla to whatever, like you would do a road. So what you saw there was me placing the harbour. We used the vanilla cargo harbour there. We might have a passenger area somewhere else around the island, but we don't need that in this area at all. So it's just cargo. The location for the cargo harbour was a combination of aesthetics where it looked good, also where it's given me a lot of room in that area to actually do the infrastructure behind it for cargo stations, for rail and that kind of thing. On top of that, I wanted the ships coming in not to be doing anything stupid, so we've got a location where the ships are going to behave fairly normally, and we've got room for a station and maybe some warehouses and depots behind it. Now onto the rail. Okay, so we've got rail coming in on the left hand line here. This is going to be the cargo line only, and the one on the right there is going to be the passenger line only. What we're going to do now is work out roughly where we've got the space to put this line. We might do a little bit of jiggling around to make all this fit, and I know we're going through trees here, which means when I reload the game, those trees are going to envelope that line, but don't worry about that. We can delete those at a later point. Now we've got the tricky thing, the tunnel that's going to connect up the passenger line. Now I say the tricky thing because first of all, we'll do that. Now we're going to use the move it slope tool to get everything sloping absolutely beautifully. And my sloping beautiful tunnel is not deep enough. So this is where there's going to be a lot of little fixes going on, and so the next few minutes is going to be you laughing at BonBon making a complete tit of himself. So the first task was obviously to lower the line so that it was actually low enough, and then from the points from the highway to the tunnel entrance, using the slope tool to give us a smoother sloped line at that, and then see how that works as we come out to the station entrance. And it looks awkward. I'm having to move individual nodes to tweak things. Now, don't mind too much if something's underground if it isn't quite perfect, but if you can see it in these fully rendered tunnels from outside, that's a problem for me. Then we're going to have to lower a few more nodes to make this work, but then we're at the station. There's not enough room between the station and the tunnel entrance to make that transition work. Now, realism says a 2% transition, a 2% gradient is what would be about the maximum that you could expect. And, well, there's just not enough room to make that work. And when there's not enough room to make it work, we've got to make more room. And to make more room, you actually have to change the route of your line. We can't do that direct line between one point and the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try not to keep going back to land. Stop it. Stop it, game. And then do a wider loop like this, which is now allowing me more room to get round and there. Now we should have enough room because we weren't far off having enough room to get that transition to work, but what we have now is just a little bit more space, for let the move it slope tool do its job. Here we have got a bit of a problem. That's probably below sea level as well, so that would fill up with water. Remember that though, if you ever build something that's below sea level, you can have it filling up with water, and that's not something that you particularly want. Right, okay, so what we've got here is just dropping this one in manually node by node to make sure that these nodes are in exactly the right place. And then once they're in the right place, we can use the slope tool to make everything from that point work perfectly between the two lines. Does that look okay? It looks like it's going up a hill, but it's pretty smooth when we go down to ground level. So I think we've got a fairly smooth line now. There's a little bit of a bump just before the edge of map tunnel connection there. As we haven't unlocked the second tile, we can't do anything more about that right now. Just going to delete a few of the trees that are underneath the rail line there, and hopefully they won't respawn. And then back to the original industrial areas, because there are a few bits down here that, not stuff that we worked on today, but in the previous episode, that I felt needed a little bit more love and a little bit more work done to. There's probably a bit more detailing that's going to be done to this area as well. But there were these little open spaces that just didn't feel like they would have been left open. They would have had some sort of backyards, containers, dirt, crates, all those sort of things. So yes, I'm just adding a little bit more interest and detail, again with 100% vanilla at this point to this area. We may come back to this area later on to do a bit more once we've unlocked a few more custom assets. Here doesn't look right though as well. Around the back here there's a couple of spaces going on. I figured we might be able to squeeze a container yard. We move the trees back a bit there. In that area there, I feel that that would work. And if we make all of this concrete, And then I think we want to fence this off because we don't want people thinking they can shortcut up and over. So we'll make this like a secure area. So having to use the prop line tool here. Prop line tool, another mod that we haven't spoken about before, so I shall introduce it now. I do have a tutorial for this one on the channel if you want to know how it works. It's a little bit fiddly to get your head around at first, especially these the fencing option, because there is a fencing option. But once you've figured it out, you can come up with some pretty good solutions to any problems that you might have. I think that's going to work well enough there. Again, not looking for absolute perfection in the detailing build here. It's just trying to build a decent looking city with enough detailing. And again, as we're staying to vanilla at the moment, or more or less vanilla, I feel these things don't really matter too much. The dirt tracks running around the back there, I felt needed to be concrete, although the little one that goes down to the little path that goes down to the river does feel like it would be something that would be walked out by people. And so I've gone with leaving that as a dirt track. Around here, I figure a little bit of hedging and a couple of trees in there as well. Right, what's next? What is next is alongside the highway we've got a bit of a gap as well. I figured this would be a fairly modern later build as well, where people popped in a few of these. I like these little units. I don't want to have everything as these units. They're like, not warehouses, but they are small industrial units that you can, you know, small bagging factories, that kind of thing, where there's just a small amount of manual work going on in these areas, and there might be some that are used mainly for storage. And so I figured this is something to be just tucked along the outside like so, a little row of those. And again, because we're plopping it down using Move It, they are naturally historic buildings and will not be upgraded by the game. Just put one of these things up the back here. It's right at the back, it's got a bit of clutter around the back of it, so we'll have to do a little bit of detailing around the back area of there to make the whole area feel like it is the end of a cul-de-sac of industrial, maybe one or two burnt out cars or something like that later on. Back to the smoky factory area, and the factory that we built, it felt a bit lonely. It felt like there was more room for more plant around here. So again, going back to the vanilla assets, finding something that looked big that could join it, that wasn't too overpowering, that might not work. Looking at this though, there's a bit of a space on the side of this building here that looks like it probably would need some storage or extra plant space. And so I figured that sort of size building was perfect, making sure that the door was completely accessible. But it doesn't change colour, and red didn't fit. So I grabbed one of these grubby old blue roofed things that would fit a lot better, and also the door is available as well. So it looks pretty good. This area here needs something. I figured something like a modern smoking factory unit, so something like that one in there. And then we have this space up here, which is going to require something a little bit creative. So maybe a unit like this. Would it back up with itself? One alongside each other. Does that work, overlapping each other? I think it kind of does. And then maybe one of those on the side there, or maybe a couple. Maybe a couple. And over this side, containers. In the space, have we got room in here? If we move the trees back, we do. Yes, and so I feel that looks a bit interesting. Certainly something that would work. Just making sure that we actually have some hidden roads underneath all this, all of this surface painter work as well. Something at the back there I felt would work, but is that too big? Is that too big and too close to the road, or do the trees give us a bit of a barrier? I think it kind of works. Now, the problem with doing all of this with the game on pause is that problems can start to occur, such as not enough jobs filled. We've got nobody moving into our city and loads of vacancies, which will end up with loads of abandoned buildings. So let's start off by popping down a couple of parks in our upcoming residential area here and here, an elementary school over here as well. And I feel this neighbourhood to be very similar to the one that we built earlier in terms of the buildings. So we will be using Jackson's Californian bungalows again. A link to that is in the episode where we first plopped them down. So do remember to watch all the episodes in order. You'll see the links to absolutely everything that I use for the city. Now this time I'm going to remember about death waves, and we're only going to zone a small section. I say zone, I mean plop a small section like that, and we're going to head back over here to the area where we're going to have our goods yard. The goods yard, I'm using the vanilla one. Again, as the city build progresses, we'll probably be switching over to more custom assets, but for now the vanilla one will do absolutely fine. Looks pretty good, I feel, not too bad for a vanilla asset. And then we'll start lining up the siding. So you can see we do have traffic running on the highway and these frontage roads there. That is to allow people to move into our residential area while we're doing this little bit of work. We can go back and plop down a few more houses in a few moments. So yes, making sure we got plenty of room for some sidings here, and what we'll also do is we'll do a loop around of the rail. I've got an idea for how to loop the rail and connect it up directly or indirectly to the harbour. It'll be one of those fake connections that looks good but really doesn't do anything effectively once we do that. But yeah, these will be mostly for aesthetics. We'll get some custom assets on there to make it look like it's actually being used, when clearly we all know that these lines are just there for show. Now that'll go off and loop around to the harbour in time. Right, so people are moving into those houses already. Let's plop down a whole bunch more of these bungalows by Jackson. We'll be using Move It to align them closer to the road, probably in the next episode, maybe the one after that. I'm not that worried about this. This area here is going to be less detailed than the first one. I'm not breaking a sweat over detailing as much as I like to have nicely detailed areas. It's very time consuming. Doesn't really make much entertainment, I feel, for you guys watching the show. So yeah, we've got power issues over there, and we've got desperate job issues over here. Those red flashing icons, they're no pretty. Right, okay, that road connects all the way across now, and I think we'll have one of these coming through to connect the harbour, because this harbour will need connecting. So let's do that with this road here, and we should connect up nicely there, quite like that. And we, you know what, I think we'll connect that the long way around that way. I think that will do. The traffic will be able to get in and out. If we have a fire at the harbour, we can now have services get down to it. Got a little bit of flooding here. We are really low to the water area. I'm just using Move It to elevate a few of these houses to just take it away from the water plane. And so that is it. That's it from another episode. Now, I'm really happy with the way the city is coming so far. I was a bit concerned that some of it wouldn't work as I was hoping it would. But you know what? It really is. I'm really liking this goods yard so far. Yes, we've still got to connect up some of the rail. The whole thing is a work in progress. But seeing the whole thing come to life really does spur you on to do more. I'm really liking the flow of traffic through past the railway station into the residential area as well. That feels really alive, as does this smoky factory area. That looks great. What doesn't look so great, we have got some of these fencing assets along the back of this little industrial area here, the Plaza. That could do with fixing some anarchy issue with those fencing panels, but I'll fix that in a later episode. Anyway, if you enjoyed everything so far, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe and notification buttons. That will get you onto the channel and watching everything I do. But you know, you have all the time in the world to do it. Well, you've got until the end of the episode. I'm watching you. That's it from me. I've been BonBonB. You have been very, very welcome. I'll see you again very, very soon. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. And goodbye from the island.